Hi again. Yeah, I'm on my tool bench again. It's really too wet to go out and do much really outside. So what we're going to do is we're going to work inside. Here's the Falcos that you saw last time, all back together. Absolutely a delight to use, simply because they're sharp and they're greased. Here we go. Here's a less expensive sort of secateur that most people might have. This is a Wolf tool one, very old one, don't think they make them anymore. It's reasonably sharp, but it's an anvil. Now, if you can see, you've got a blade up here, which is quite sharp. Don't do what I'm doing, because if yours are very sharp, then you'll cut yourself. And then you've got this, which is flat. I think you can see them in cross section there, square off. Made of a softer metal, probably aluminium, and they're quite nice for anvils because they've actually got the different sorts of metal. Hardened steel here on the top blade and a soft steel underneath, because whenever you shut these like that, you're always shutting onto the metal underneath, which means to say it's taking the edge off your blade constantly. So not only that, when you cut through something, now I'll put I'll put a piece of copper pipe in. There you go, you can see. Not that you're cutting copper pipe trees at all, but you can see one side is just going to squash, and the other side is going to cut. So anything you cut through with this, and I'll show you on this little bit of pipe, you get a sharp dent on the top and a big squash on the other side. That happens to your trees. So all of this tissue on one side, all of the bark and everything is all mashed up and destroyed. And then on the other side there's a sharp cut. If you do it with a bypass pair, then if you can imagine, it's like a pair of scissors. They cut pretty much both sides at once. You have less damage, less root for disease to take over your poor old tree, and you have a better deal at the end of it. And also, when you're using a pair of these, sometimes you can use a bit of methylated spirits and just pop it in the methylated spirits, and that kills off a lot of the bugs, so you're not spreading the bugs from one tree to the next tree. Yeah, right. The other thing I wanted to talk about is these. Now, I absolutely love these, and they're not bypass. Can you see? I think I can open it up here. It's not just a pair of scissors. The actual force you're putting on the tree has been magnified many times through laws of leverage and the like. So the actual pressure you put on that blade is quite colossal. Saying that, they're not to be joked with. If you do press that on something, like a finger, it will chop it off. So here you've got an anvil here on the underside that you can actually take off. So I don't know why you do it, but imagine if it got damaged, I wouldn't have to throw these whole pair away. And also all the bits and pieces here can be taken apart. Now these I don't use very much. Occasionally when you want to use them, they're great, but I don't use them an awful lot. The reason why is because anything I can't cut with the secateurs, and I'll cut with this, is going to be quite wide. It's going to be like that. And about that time, when it's that wide, you really want to be using one of these. Now, you can use a bow saw, which is like a big frame with one of these blades in it. They are difficult to use. They have a habit of, when you're holding anything, jumping, and so sometimes they'll hit the back of your hand and there'll be blood everywhere. So bow saws I would try and persuade people not to use. These, whether you can see it there, I'll put it up and I'll turn it round slowly. These are flame cut. Not only are they flame cut, they're designed for use on wet timber. This is an old one, not particularly sharp anymore, but you can see it. The reason why is because it blocks up a normal saw. A normal saw makes hard work of wet timber, and of course all pruning is wet timber. Doesn't matter if it's a dry day, it's still wet timber because of all the water inside it. So really you want one of these, and when you're using one of these you don't use it like that. They jump. All of these fleam cuts, bow saws jump. If you haven't got control, don't do it. So you just do it like that. The nice thing is you can use these with one hand, so they can reach anywhere with one hand. There's a nice lumpy bit on the base as well. That's important because they cut pulling backwards and pushing forwards. So you don't want your hand to slip up the blade going forwards, because that is not somewhere where you want your fingers, and you don't want it coming backwards. Also, I've got a nice hole. That's not for hanging it up in your tool shed. Quite often I'm up a ladder or up a tree doing a bit of pruning, and a little string like that through there and tied to a loop of your belt means that every time you drop it you don't have to get down the tree again. You can just haul it up, pick it up, and it means that you've got both hands free and you're a lot safer working up a tree. Never get up really tall trees unless you're really used to it. I'm only talking about something a couple of foot off the ground. Okay, so that's what you should be using for your pruning. There are things you can put on your branches. I'll come into that at a later date. And these are to stop the wind and the weather getting and rotting away at your plants. However, for today, just a quick look at the loppers, anvil secateurs, and bypass. Yeah, don't use anything else. It's your trees at the end of the day. If you went to the doctors for an operation to take a splinter out your foot and you got out a pair of garden shears, you wouldn't be best pleased. So your tree's not going to be best pleased if you try and chop that with a pair of tin snips. Have a look in your tool drawer. Quite often what you think are secateurs are not secateurs. I'm just looking to see if I can find a pair here, and he finds one. These are not secateurs. Not even old ones. They're tin snips. A lot of what you'll see are tin snips. And tin snips are meant for trees. They make an awful job at doing it. Not a lot else I can say about that. I will talk later about grafting knives and how to sharpen grafting knives with whetstones and that. It is quite high-end stuff. I will do it the best I can with backing irons and things like that, and that will make it a lot safer. But at the minute, if you can look after your secateurs, make sure they're well greased, make sure you get a lot of the rust and a lot of this black stuff, which isn't rust, that's tree sap. Every time you cut in a tree, it's damp timber inside, and all the juices squeeze out, and they're all full of sugars, and they just stick to everything. Okay, right, that's today's Grow Joe in my shed. I'll try not to do too many more in my shed, even though I like being in my shed. It's awfully quiet in here. I can see everything, and I'm not even getting rained on. Anyway, enough of me waffling. That's me for now.